Hi everyone, Game Horizon here and welcome to a risky video that I have for you guys. Why risky? Well, because I'm about to make some people really angry. I'm talking about haters on the internet, not the fans. Anyway, welcome to Mass Effect Andromeda, a game that got so much hate and it didn't deserve this much, but it did deserve some hate. So by the time of writing this script, I've spent more than 65 hours into the single player, more than that actually, and around 100 hours, maybe more, in the multiplayer. And I've decided to take my time to write some kind of a review, more like my thoughts on the game, and share it with you guys and the Mass Effect fans that are on the fence about buying this game or not. But before we start, I have to apologize for my bad English. It's not my main language, but I'll try my best here. One more thing, this is just my opinion on the game. If you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, but I don't really care. Sorry if that was harsh. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, here are the things that I'm going to talk about: gameplay, environment, story, characters, technical stuff, and at the end, conclusion. Also, some of them are going to have subcategories so that I can give you guys more information and more details about the game. Okay, gameplay. Here are all the stuff that are connected to the gameplay or somehow connected to the gameplay. I think most people agree with me that combat is the best part of the game and most polished part of the game, which is unfortunate. Combat is the last thing I care in RPG games. If you like the combat in Mass Effect 3, you're going to love it in Andromeda, though I highly recommend to play it in the hardest difficulty, which is Insanity. And it's the same thing with multiplayer, though it's way harder than Mass Effect 3. Now, while we are at it, let's talk about AI. Sometimes they can be pain in the ass. Games have different types of enemy, of course, and each one tries to kill you differently. For example, if the enemy has shield, they'll charge you or they'll try to flank you, so you need to take those out first and watch your back. And the cool thing is, as soon as you drain their shield, they'll see cover until their shield recharges, unless you interrupt them. But at the same time, they can be very dumb, especially if you shoot at them from distance. Sometimes it takes 2-3 shots until AI realizes that they are under fire, and things will get worse if you stay behind enemy territories and kill them with the snipers. And it's worse for your squad mate. Actually, your squad mates are pretty useless in Insanity difficulty, mainly at the beginning of the game, unless you spend perks in their skill trees and make them powerful, and that requires XP, and the XP requires gameplay time. Now let's talk about the level design. I really like the addition of verticality of the levels thanks to jump jets. You can escape from the heat or get right into it. Now, there are two types of environment that you fight in it. More linear design, like inside of a ship or facilities, and more open level design that mostly happens on the planets where you can approach the fight however you like. Those are my favorites, and you can leave the battle whenever you like. Overall, I believe they did a good job with level design, though I can't really say the same thing about the multiplayer. Okay, that's from that. Let's talk about the exploration.
We're on course.
I think this is the part where the game misses a lot of opportunities to do something different and awesome. Instead, they've completely got it wrong. Now I have to say it, I really like driving around the planets with Nomad to do different things like find resources or doing missions and stuff like that. But here's my problem. Our main character, Ryder, is an explorer, but there is no sense of exploration on the planets that we get to land on. Why? Well, the places we get to land on, they are basically being discovered before. There are people everywhere you go. The only places that have this sense of exploration are the inside of the remnant structures, which I found them really interesting, but again, they are very limited in terms of accessibility and freedom you get inside those massive structures. And I know the reason, or better to say the game reason behind people are being everywhere, because all the shit that happened. before we arrive, but let me give you guys a simple example here. So in one of the planets you'll get a mission that it will basically lead you toward a cave that leads you to an underground lake with drinkable water. But the cave was already been discovered by some people, and then those people drowned you and shooting start, blah 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 blah. Now in my opinion it would have been much better and cooler if the devs would have left this lake completely alone and hidden for the player to find by driving around looking for clues and stuff like that. And after you've managed to find that, now it's time for you to decide what you want to do with that lake. This is where RPG elements comes into play, which lacks a lot in this game. We'll talk about it later. With that said, there are still some really cool and hidden stuff to discover that contain a lot of mystery. And this space exploration, well, let's not talk about that because all you can do is just scan. At least some planets hold interesting information about the cluster and the history of the planet and the cluster itself. Okay, next topic, your character and squad mate progress. This is for combat and gameplay, not the personality. I will talk about that separately. I have to give BioWare Montreal a positive for in-depth character progress that they've created, and the gear system is also really good. I'm not talking about the character customization, no, I'll talk about that later. We have a lot of guns, armor, and each armor have different variants depending on the level. Shit load of skill to choose from and addition of profiles. I really like that, so I will stick to only soldiers. But I'm planning to play the game again and I want to check everything next time. Though I did check everything. Whatever. Most of the time when I'm playing games on the hardest difficulty, I want to feel the experience that my character is earning through the time that I've spent with her or him by doing combats, finishing missions, exploring, and everything that basically gives you XP and helps you get access to stuff that can make you more powerful. And they've managed to do that without breaking the balance of the game. Okay, now let's talk about grinding. So yes, there are grinding in this game and there are 4 types of grinding. XP grinding, you will earn those by just playing the game. Material grinding, basically materials are good for crafting stuff. Then we got scan grinding, I'm not sure if that's how I should say it. You will earn research point by scanning the unknown. It could be a wildlife, alien technology, and you can use research point to research new guns, new armor, new stuff, whatever. And there is one more thing that I can't really talk about. It's cryopod. Now, the missions. So I like to categorize them into 4 types: main missions, squad mate missions or royalty missions, side missions, fetch quest. Okay, main missions or main story. Basically, I can't really talk about it, you know, spoiler and all that jazz. But I can give you guys my thoughts on it. There are not a lot of main missions in the game. You can finish the main story in less than 10 hours if you want, but then you are going to get the worst ending possible. But the way I've played the game made the main missions way more interesting for me, because I've experienced more of this world by playing the side quests or missions, and that really helped me to feel more connected to the main story and this world, and that was really important for me. Royalty missions for your squad mates. I think this is where the game really shines the most. I love the squad mates and the Tempest crew in this game. They are all good, of course some better than the others, but still, unlike Mass Effect 1 where I hated Ashley, here I like them all, especially Joel and Drac. Anyway, just like Mass Effect 2, we have royalty missions but with a big difference. BioWare have expanded their royalty missions now. At first there is some setups or basically side missions inside the royalty missions, then the main missions itself, and after you finish the royalty missions, after a while you'll get a follow-up where you can basically see the result of your choices. It might sound weird to say, but I found the royalty missions more entertaining and smartly written than the main missions. Anyway, I highly recommend to play all the royalty missions, they are awesome. And then we got the side quests. Some of them are quite important and have effects on the ending. And the rest of the side quests, well, if you are into MMORPGs or open world RPG games, well, They're not that bad, they're just there to fill the wall.
Shut up, you quadless little shit. We're letting you live. For now. Let's get this transport back to where it belongs. You're not expendable, Drac. We are not having this conversation.
I don't know. No harm hearing him out.
I hate you all. Let me be old and cranky in peace already.
Now, let's move on to the next big category. Environment, or the world of Mass Effect Andromeda. And here's all the subcategories. Okay, let's start with graphics. There are some people that don't really care about the graphics. Well, it's really important to me. Game needs to look good and contain details. I'm not talking about a Star Citizen level of details. No, game needs to look good. It could be something like Borderlands or Life is Strange or, well, Star Citizen. Graphics helps me to feel more connected to a game, and that's why I care about the graphics, though it's not my #1 priority. Now, how about Mass Effect Andromeda? Is it any good? Well, yes. But compared to some older BioWare's title like Dragon Age Inquisition, not really. Sorry for the noise. Honestly, I think Dragon Age Inquisition looked better. I'm not saying Mass Effect Andromeda doesn't look good, but compared to Inquisition, I don't see much of an improvement. How about the world design? Well, you get to explore more than 6 planets in this game, more like 5, and there are more places which you get only to visit in certain missions. Unfortunately, there are only 2, maybe 3 planets that looks really good, but the rest, there's nothing really special about them. And that's another problem that I got with this game. In Inquisition, all the places that you get to play in or visit looked amazing. They all had such an amazing and smart design to them. But you can't really say the same thing about the Andromeda except those 2 planets and this location. I love this location. How about wow factor? Well, again, it all comes down to world design, and you might ask me, what the hell is wow factor? Well, this is something that I'd like to use when I came across a very amazing scenery in a game. I just stop and look at the world and that scene. Though I'm happy to say that the game did not disappoint me on this one. There are some really amazing looking places on those 3 planets that I've even mentioned before a few seconds ago. Now let's talk about the immersion, yet another important factor in open world games and role-playing games. Games need to make you feel the world and feel connected, grab you basically. Again, not many people care about this, but it is important to me and a lot of people. And Andromeda does that to me very well, until something shitty like this happened. Now, when I started playing the game, I had to completely forget about the old trilogy. The tone of this game is much lighter than the old trilogy. Back then, you were playing as an Spectre and a badass in 7, with a highly skilled crew, and you know that the Reapers are coming and everything were about to go down the hill. But this is not the case with Andromeda. You're just an explorer with military training and everything happens so fast. You were not supposed to be a pathfinder that has to save everyone. Someone else was supposed to do that, but not you. And I really like this about Andromeda. So at the end, the game manages to keep you immersed in its new galaxy and world, and not even that, there are some really awesome Easter egg and throwback to the old games. And some of them comes with its own missions. Make sure you check those out.
This is Paladin Command to all Turian units within range. Under catastrophic Reaper attack. Primarch Fedorian is dead. Ground units are searching for the next in succession. We'll advise when. Everybody get down!
At the end, mysteries, secrets, backstories, and lore. One of the most important things for me in any BioWare game, especially in Mass Effect universe, is the lore and the hidden stories behind this galaxy or universe. And I'm glad they have managed to add even more to Mass Effect universe by introducing Andromeda. I can't help myself when I saw these structures, I just stopped and started thinking, came up with different theories. I've checked the forums, YouTube, in-game stuff to find out what are they, and I just can't help myself. I love mysteries in games. Now while we are at it, let's talk shortly and generally about the story. I can't really dive deep because spoiler and all that jazz. Well, honestly, it's hard to say. If we only talk about the main mission storyline and the storytelling, it was good, and it gets even better at the end. But nothing mind-blowing or amazing, and I'm completely fine with that. It depends on how you look at the new world and the Andromeda galaxy that we got here. The main story of this game was just about setting up a foundation for the future games. When I finished the game, I was left with so much question about everything. Basically, this game was about finding our new home and settling Andromeda and basically how you do it. Through this journey, I found more mystery and question and came up with tons of ideas and theories, and because of that, I really love the story. I don't see this guy, Archon, as a threat. They're nothing. The true threat in this galaxy are these unknown structures and their engineers and creators that could have gone extinct for centuries. Or maybe not, who knows? And this is what makes me more excited about the future of this game or series, if there's going to be more, you know, after all that shit that happened to BioWare. Okay, 2 more categories left, and of course the conclusion. Characters. Let me start with our hero, Ryder. First, a quick rant here, guys. The character creation in this game is just horrible. The worst I've ever seen in any game. I think it was their first time doing something like this, or just they didn't have enough time, or something just went wrong. It's really hard to create a really good character. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about our hero. So since I've played the first game with male Shepard, I've decided to play Andromeda with female Ryder. First of all, I have to say, Sarah Ryder, voice actress, she's amazing. She did such an amazing job.
Heads up! Maybe this place isn't functioning as well as we thought.
If that also means the killer bots, I won't complain.
This is probably the access terminal for the drive core. Why, yes, Ryder, I think you're right. Talking to yourself, Ryder? Yeah, I am. Okay, just checking.
About male Ryder, well, I can't really comment on that because I've only had a little bit of time with him, so I don't know. As I've mentioned before, we are not a hero or a badass, so just forget about the Commander Shepard. We are Explorer, or as a game blog to call us, a Pathfinder. At first I didn't feel connected to my character, but that was okay. It was exactly like the first time I've played Mass Effect 1 or Witcher 1, but the more time we spend with them, they start to grow on us. That's how I am, at least. I'm not sure about other people. Now, before we move to other characters, I have to mention something else here as well. Unfortunately, we can't really be a dick to people unlike the original trilogy. It kind of works with her or his personality, but I wish they would have kept the Paragon and Renegade system and add more evil conversation option to the dialogue system. Though it doesn't mean there are not any evil dialogue in the game, no, there is, but not much. I wish there were more. So overall, what do I think of our heroes? Well, she or he might not be a hero or a badass at the beginning, but the more you play, you can feel and see your character becoming a hero of the Helios. You start rough, not a lot of people trust you or respect you, but after a while, you'll become someone that people rely and honor you, and they will trust you. At the end of the game, you'll become their heroes. Literally, I hate that word. And if you ask me, I call this a very good character progress and a smart writing. So that's just my opinion again. And it's exactly the same thing with your squad mates. At first I really wanted my old crew to come back. I actually saw a lot of gamers want the same thing. But after 20 hours into the game and spending time with them, play their royalty missions, talk to them after each mission and more, I genuinely fell in love with them and I've accepted them, some more than others. My favorites, Joel and Grandpa Drac. They are the best. I swear to God, if BioWare kill Drac in the next game, I'll be so mad. Something is telling me he's going to die because he is really, really old.
What's with the smudge over your eyes? Trying to be some kind of superhero?
Why all the bones? Trying to be some kind of supervillain?
Yes.
Cool.
Anyway, after 60 plus hours spending time with my crew, I have to say they are awesome. And please do not stick to certain characters through the whole game. Give other squad mates more gameplay time. Don't make the same mistake as I did. And we have a lot of side characters. Some of them are important. Some of them are just there to make the world feel alive. And some of them even got their own lines, but it can get repetitive after a while. Oh, by the way, we also got Sam, our new AI. He's interesting, but nothing like Edie. She's the
How are those
best.
jokes coming, Sam?
My algorithm has reached the end of its iteration. Do you believe my sense of humor has improved?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I estimate it is now equal with your own skill at dissembling.
Now, technical stuff, and here are the subcategories, and also I'm going to include sounds here as well. Okay, let me start with polish. In my opinion, polishing the game before releasing it is very important, and the more advanced and more complicated the game gets, this level of polish always drops unless the publisher, in our case EA, gives the devs more time and money. And unfortunately, you can easily see that BioWare Montreal failed to polish the game here. Maybe they ran out of time, I'm 90% sure, 99% sure. Or they didn't have enough experience with developing a proper AAA title. And this is why I think the dev needed at least one more year to just polish the game. But I think they just ran out of time. And EA, they just don't care. They want the fucking money, and that's it. Now, performance. Again, the same story. Mass Effect Andromeda barely looks better than Dragon Age Inquisition, but the performance is worse. But at least the game is playable thanks to Frostbite engine, but again it could have been much better. Now let's talk about HUD and game menu. It looks gorgeous, but at the same time this thing is confusing as fuck. It took me hours to fully understand it, but I have to say there's a lot of things that you can interact with. And thankfully it's not the shitty console port here. They've done it properly for PC and it works very well with ultra wide monitor. Now let's move on to cutscenes. This is another part of the game that really bothers me. And again, I think it comes down to polishing. Cutscenes feels unfinished. Sometimes there's no music at all. Weird jumps, no transitions, suddenly cutbacks to gameplay. Really disappointed with the cutscenes. It feels like there was no director with the cinematic team or something. Cutscenes used to look awesome in the old trilogy, but here I don't know what to say, just compare these 2 or 3 clips here.
Approaching a Mega 4 relay. Everyone stand by.
Let's make it happen.
Reaper IFF activated. Signal acknowledged.
Commander, the drive core just lit up like a Christmas tree.
Drive core electrical charge at critical levels.
Rerouting.
Brace for deceleration.
Ah, shit!
Anyway, let's move on to the sounds. Voice acting in the single player is good, I said it before, especially with the main characters. Sound effects for guns are quite good and satisfying to use, but some of them needs a little bit of more work to make them more unique, you know. Other sound effects are not really good, like punching, but at the same time we have like ship thrusters sound effect that are awesome. Now I gotta say, these problems aren't really a big deal because you can hear and see this problem in every game.
The glass on board? It's actually a clear oxide and nanofiber compound. It bends rather than shattering.
How tough is it? We're only an arm's length away from hard vacuum.
Our testing involved 3 drunk Krogan with sledgehammers and a C-Sec battering ram. It's sturdy.
How about music? Well, the music in the background that you guys are currently hearing is the main menu music, and I love it. But this is not the only good music in this game. No, there are more, but they are not as good as Mass Effect 3 music. In my opinion, Mass Effect 3 had the best music in the series, though I have a problem with the music, or better to say the way they've implemented that into the game. There are times that there is no music in cutscenes, and that bothers me so much. That could have been a glitch or something else, but I'm not sure. And also, lack of epic soundtracks can be felt through the whole game. If there is any, it's being played with a very low volume in the background. Alright, I think I've talked about everything that I had to talk, and I've also mentioned some of the problems that I have with the game personally. Now before we jump into the conclusion, there is one more thing that I want to talk about briefly, and that is the consequence of your choices that you make through the game. In your playthrough, there are times that you have to make a few choices between 2, maybe 3 things, but you can't really feel or see the consequence of your choices after finishing that mission too much. Now, it doesn't mean there is not any, actually there is. Here's an example. Most of the high quality side missions affects the ending. Good or bad ending depends on how many side missions or quests you've completed or you haven't completed. But while you're doing those side missions, sometimes you get to choose between 2 different things, like 2 different person. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter which one you choose, as long as you finish the mission, you get the assist for the final mission. And your choices, they're just a simple visual swap. So basically, there are not much consequences for your choices. Now, they could use that for future games? I don't know. I thought that might be an important thing to mention. Okay, there we go. 20 pages later. What do I think of this game? Well, here's a simple answer. Mass Effect Andromeda is a very good game, but unpolished game. I think this was their first proper AAA title. I'm talking about BioWare Montreal. And unfortunately, because of their lack of experience, they ran out of time. They've needed at least 1 more year to just polish the game, and 1 more year on top of that to just make this game super awesome. But here's the problem. EA is a publisher here, and BioWare, they had no choice to just release the game. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm afraid for the future of this game. I love to see DLCs for both single player and multiplayer. But with all the stuff that happened to BioWare, I'm afraid that we are just going to see some update and then the game is just going to die. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. Anyway, I really like the game. I don't want to compare it to original Mass Effect because Andromeda is different in many ways, some good, some bad. I don't really like to give a score here, but here we go. If I want to give a score to my experience as a Mass Effect fan, I give it 8, but I think it's more of a 7 if I want to see this game as a reviewer. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It was really hard to write a proper review for a game franchise like this for the first time. I've spent more than 2 weeks to just write this script and basically talk about everything that come into my mind. And I hope this review was useful for you guys if you're not sure about buying it or not. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching and sorry for my bad English. It's not my main language, but doing these videos really helps me out. Again, thanks for watching and fly safe, Pathfinders.